On today's episode of Watch JR Go, this basically brand new Mercedes is falling apart. What is going on, guys? I am Watch JR Go, and today I am here with a friend of mine's Mercedes SLK320. And when I say it's basically brand new, it's because it has 34,000 original miles on the car. That is about as new as they come. So this little two-seat roadster was built in the year 2000. And you guys have seen some 2000s Mercedes on the channel before, and you've probably seen some other 2000s Mercedes in your life before. And I think we've all come to the same conclusion. They're pretty bad cars after you drive them for like 3 years or something like that. So this one, being, you know, a cream puff with no miles on it, perfect headlights, wonderful paint, should be a cream puff as well, but it's not. It's falling apart. So today I'm gonna take you on a tour of this supercharged Mercedes, and we're gonna see just how bad it is. So we'll start with a quick overview of the exterior here. It actually looks just fine. The wheels are in excellent shape. They're painted, there's no clear failure or anything like that. Lots of brake dust up front, but good tires, excellent Michelins on the car. It's obviously a hardtop convertible. Mirror caps look great, everything looks great. There is no damage to be seen on the outside of this car, except for one little spot, and I think that's from the convertible top opening and closing. I don't think it's accident damage or anything like that. It's just a weird issue with the SLK. But when we open the door, that's where the problems start. Now, first of all, you can see the door panel is almost shaking because it's fallen apart. All the adhesives have failed on the door panel here, all the way down it. All the trim's off because the owner took that stuff off trying to fix the locks that don't work on this door. So if you look right here, the lock will not move. So it should go all the way flush with the door panel, but instead it stays high and doesn't lock the vehicle. Here, there's supposed to be trim that says SLK on it. That trim does not exist because the adhesive that holds that metal trim on failed and started curling off and causing problems with the door. So of course that had to be ripped off. Here in the center console, you can see that the gray coating has rubbed off the black plastic. Even though this thing's very well taken care of, it still is coming apart with only 34,000 miles on the clock. The seats are holding up kind of okay, but at the same time, 34,000 miles, you wouldn't expect to see cracking like that. Over here on the passenger side, you can see the SLK trim I was talking about. It's completely destroyed. The one from the driver's side, it started peeling up, so it had to go in the trash. There was really no saving it. But yeah, that's just glued on, and you can see the adhesive is failing even over here. There's definitely a gap in between the metal and the actual door sill. So that's not ideal. The glove box has the same failure that the center console does there, where the gray's coming off. There's our armrest for the driver's side and a brand new handle because, of course, even the plastic handle broke on this thing. If you look right there, you can see that it definitely fell apart. Oh, apparently the glove box, like latch systems, broke too. I thought it was just hanging down low. It's completely broke. So let's fire this thing up and open the top just because it's a nice car with the top open. The owner pretty much drives it with the top down all the time because that's kind of the perfect thing for an SLK. Here she goes, the windows all roll down, the trunk opens up like a standard hardtop convertible would, and after it finishes opening here, the top will vanish. Pretty long opening process. And we are almost to the end. You can see everything else on this car is holding up pretty well. All the turned metal in the center still looks great. Really, it's just that finish on the black plastic that's coming apart. Let's see here, I think we have cup holders. Yeah, there you go. And they're not broken. So usually these things break, at least the little cup holder arm there. This one's doing just fine, and it opens and closes as it should. The cassette player is hiding back here. If you hit tape and then eject, of course the display opens up, and that is where the cassette player is. Everything works on the radio. That's typically used for the aux in these cars because they don't have a modern radio. The accordion that covers up the cigarette lighter has not failed, so that's pretty cool. And the only other real issue is the check engine light's on. I don't know why yet. We're gonna find out here in a few. And the washer fluid light is also on all the time. And it has washer fluid in it. It's actually a failed sensor. So if I start this thing up, you can see the only lights we have left are washer fluid and check engine. So let's get the scanner on here and see what the check engine light is. While the Autel is scanning this thing, obviously it has a million modules on it. I'm gonna go ahead and try to remove some of this junk that a previous owner put on here to try to hold down that metal. Well, that looks better than a bunch of yellow glue and a piece of plastic that was left from before. And now we have the codes as well, and they're a bunch of fun ones. We've got a secondary air injection fault, which I forgot. That's been there for a long time. I think I shop looked at this before and said the intake needs pulled off and probably replaced. It's a weird issue that's common to R170s or something like that. So we've got another code that's stop lamp switch plausibility. These are old codes that should clear. You know, a bunch of CAN bus message issues, cassette cannot be ejected, tape is torn, even though those codes come from the cassette adapter being in the radio. GPS positioning is not assured, just a whole bunch of nonsense on here. None of these codes are really a big deal, so we're gonna go ahead and clear them all right now and move on to fixing the door panel that's absolutely falling apart. So let's shut this thing off, clear the codes, and get to fixing. So obviously the door panel is almost falling off of this car already, but there were still a few things I needed to remove. Here at the latch, I had to take the trim off of that. There's a piece of chrome trim right there. We had to take off of here, just a few Phillips screws, and then there's one more under this airbag logo there. So pry that from the top very gently, and then it has a little retainer that keeps it from falling on the ground. So after I get this last screw out, should take me just a minute here, I think the door panel is completely off. So there's the screw. She's loose. Hey, look at that. The door panel came right off. So now I just need to get this cable out of the actual door latch down here. I already found out why the locks don't work. As soon as I got the door panel off and pulled the vapor barrier back off, this was just sitting here. And this, as we found out very quickly, is the air line that runs the locks. I'm gonna say it one more time. The air line that runs the locks. Thanks for nothing, Mercedes. Anyway, this was broken off of this quick disconnect that goes onto the lock system, and it's supposed to go kind of like that. And then if you just take a listen. Seriously, I'm not kidding, Jake. This is real life. Mercedes kept doing this.
This is the German engineering everyone always talks about.
At least it's a nice breeze. I gotta give them that.
Oh, it's positive pressure?
Yeah, it is. It's literally like a ton of power. Okay, so lock. It actually vacuums.
That is wild.
That's crazy.
That's got to be horrible because the fittings have to both deal with like forces in multiple directions.
Did you see the fitting? This quick disconnect?
So tiny.
That pops on there. So obviously there's no way we can fix it. We don't have a new one of these fittings. So I think what I'm gonna do is put a bead of super glue on there and then try to hold it until it sets. And we'll pop it back on. It's not gonna be a real fix, but it's enough until we can buy a new fitting, cut the line, splice it. I think that's the only way to actually fix this problem. So that's upsetting, to say the least. And the worst part about it is this lock doesn't run manually. Like, you cannot move the lock if there's no air pressure.
Oh, and they riveted this in?
Oh yeah, the airbag, that's irreplaceable there.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, you could drill those rivets and replace them in like 2 seconds. Just put self-tappers on there because it's never gonna fail. It still locks into the chassis. So.
Yeah, but my BMW is 3 10mm bolts.
Yeah. Had to make it difficult. So the adhesive that held the vapor barrier is like melted down.
That's pretty cool.
What a mess.
The adhesive just looks like dried Dr. Pepper.
It does. Okay, so we can actually just replace it though.
Ah, there we go. That is a fixed car.
Yep.
We don't need to do anything else in here.
Good to go. We fixed it. We've got the glue drying on that door panel where I've been putting every single thing back where it belonged. And over here, we're putting on the new door pull because the door pull is what actually broke. You can see right here, all that plastic is broken off. And inside this one, of course, you can see that it's reinforced and it's what actually connects to the door so you have something to pull on. The owner has been driving with the convertible top down or pulling on the window for the last like 6 months while this was broken. One note about this that you guys should probably be aware of, the screws that hold this handle on are reverse thread. So run them in forward to take them out, run them in reverse to put them in. Why, Mercedes? I mean, there's self-tapping screws going into plastic. Why were they reverse thread? All right, we've got the new handle on. And before we glue that, we're gonna get the door panel all ready so that it can all go together at once. And while all of that's drying, I figured I'd show you guys under the hood. This is, of course, a SLK230 compressor. So it is the supercharged one. I've always thought the supercharged 4-cylinder from Mercedes was a very nice package. Oh, interesting. That supercharger is smaller than I thought. And it looks like the charge is over here and the actual intake is right here. Yep. And the other side is the exhaust and the supercharger. So kind of interesting how the thing's packaged, but I can tell you that it does work. And I think the drivetrain might be the most reliable part of this series SLK. If you treat them right, it seems like they last a long time. And if you don't, they last about as long as the interior did. 10 hours later, I came back to connect the little quick disconnect onto the locks, and of course the super glue broke right off. So, the second game plan. First of all, Mercedes, you're the worst. I guess this is an old car. I love all the new Mercedes stuff, it's easy to work on, but these are still from the nightmare era. I grabbed some vacuum line, my generic vacuum line that I use for map sensors, and I just shoved that onto the vacuum line there. So that is ready to go. And now we're gonna cut that back. I promise that will never come off. It doesn't even need clamped. Then I ran to O'Reilly's and I got this 1/4 inch elbow. So this is 1/4 to 1/4 and it fits on there exactly as you would expect. That is not going to come off. So I'm gonna cut that down until there's like nothing left of it, basically that much. I'll cut all that off. Then I'm gonna take a little vacuum butt splice, slide it in there, and it'll go from that tiny little vacuum line up to this 1/4 inch one. I know it's weird, not like the cleanest way to do this, but it won't come apart again, and you don't need any specialty parts. You know, last night I was like, I should start 3D printing this and solve everyone's problems. But the reality is everyone should just do it like this because it costs you like $10 maybe, and it fixes the problem forever. Also, it's flexible. It's not gonna just fail after a few years like this one did. A 47092 from O'Reilly's, and a pack of vacuum connectors, whichever pack you want. And a little piece of vacuum hose to connect to the other vacuum hose. Boom, flexible, perfect length, ready to push on. That's all you need. And now after all that, we're ready to test this thing. Please work. It tried to move. There's still a little air leak somewhere. I think I'm gonna put a little clamp around that, and that should completely wrap this up. The unlock does what it's supposed to do, and lock does what it's supposed to do. Yeah! I can't tell you how long it took to put this back together. I probably have 4 hours, 5 hours in this bad boy now, but it's all back together. There's glue on all the leather. I know it still looks loose, but it's glued. And when I shut the door, I'll be able to wedge some cardboard in there like I did on that side. Obviously, I've got that one back together, and that will hold that together until it sets. So that's the game plan, and now all we really have left here is sliding this in. So this is the final trim piece of the handle. There we go. You can finally pull on the door. Let's shut this thing, put some cardboard in here to set this glue, and this Mercedes is back together. This one has been glued on multiple times before because it doesn't fit very well, but I can make it sort of stay. There it goes. I also wrapped the door sill, so that is matte black now. That way there's no more traces of that old adhesive that came off of there. Looks much, much better. And fixed the lock. Everything's hooked back up. What a job. There's our glue setting piece right there. I had to triple stack it to get the width we needed, but it seems like that's perfect now. And now this old SLK is ready to hit the road again. And even better, you can get in it and close the door without rolling down the window and pulling it shut or leaving the top down all the time. So just beware if you decide you're gonna buy the cheap SLK that's down the street. There's a lot of these things out there. There's not a lot of them at this mileage, but you might be getting into days of work to put the interior back together. I was trying to find a way to crib up the space between the seat bolster and the armrest here because of course I glued the back as well, and I needed to make sure that was held so the glue could dry there. And what I came up with was the airbag from my lockpick kit. Super solid, holds really well, and doesn't damage anything. A little bit of cardboard in the front, airbag in the back, and you are good to go. It's crazy that it has so little miles on it and it was just falling apart. But honestly, we got it all fixed and we only spent about $30 doing the whole thing. And you know how to fix the airlocks if something goes wrong. Just cut the line back and build your own system. that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjaergo.com for cool shirts, not like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. And I will talk to you next time. It really needs detail too, but that's just not going to happen today. I'm going to go drive it again. The coolest part of this car is, of course, the hardtop. What a process, though. Here it goes. You have to hold it the whole time, too. There it is.